smoke when we all celebrate success. So now we, yeah, that's right, you know we, yeah, that's right, you know we, I thought I told you that we.
Hey everyone, by the time you guys see this video, it'll be the 1st of March 2019, which means I haven't filmed anything since late November of 2018. So I've taken a nice long break. I've been trying to gather a lot of bits and pieces required for this project. A few outstanding items. So one of the things I did this past weekend was to fit this quarter window with the new rubber. I'm very glad I bought these new rubbers. The old ones are very brittle, very hard. They did clean up nicely, ironically enough. They were covered with overspray from all the years of this vehicle being resprayed. So they just look really terrible. And then when I cleaned them to take the glass out, they cleaned up all right to be used as sort of spares. But yeah, with all this new rubber going on, I needed to put new rubber on this quarter window. So this is all done. I fitted the OEM door handles finally. These scratch guards are just here. I haven't decided. You see, they need a bit of a clean and maybe a spray with satin black. But I've just put them on there just to kind of get an idea. So I'm still waiting for VW to send me the original OEM screw for the front here. The rear screw came with the handles, so I had actually bought them, but yeah, it turns out I didn't need them when I unpacked the handles. So these are all just test fits for now. So I put a little bit more soundproofing on the door. But yeah, this I used a cap screw, M5, and a bolt on the back just to secure this. They wanted me to use a pop rivet, and I really didn't feel like putting a pop rivet in there, and you have to drill it out every single time you want to change the rubber or replace the window. So I thought a cap screw and a bolt would be a better idea. Then I had to order, let me put the light on. I had to order a brand new OEM screw here as well. It's a very specific size. So that's done. So this door is almost done. I started fitting the scrapers and everything just to see that I have everything. So I need to take off about 2 centimeters on the front to line it up here, and then we should be good to go there. So that'll be the door scrapers, or the window scrapers will run along here to about there. And then I need to make the rubber for the rest of the door. So I'm kind of hesitant to do that just yet. I've never done that before myself, and you know I've got finite amounts of material here, so I have to be exactly precise on how much I cut off and the exact lengths here, and it can't be too loose, because if I trim too much off trying to get the right sort of length here, I kind of scrap the rubber. So I mean, not a big problem because I can just go get another one, but I'm going to try and avoid wastage if I can. Yeah, interesting thing, I had to replace all the little plastic, let's put the light back on, linkages and stuff inside the door. You see that's a nice brand new white one in there. It's a bit of a mission, but now the door can lock from inside and I can lock it with the key. I do still need to figure out how to take this old barrel out to replace. I've got the OEM barrel that goes, so everything will be on one key: ignition, doors, boot, fuel cap. I won't have that finicky little key that comes with, but this, if you look at this thing is, I could probably put a screwdriver in there and open it. So we need to fix that. And then I had a bit of an issue which popped up. You know, I had to go and get a new one of these guys, because the one that I had powder coated, when the guys put the bush in, they put it in skew. So I went to take it back to get them to push out and put it back in a little bit over, just to get it parallel, and they buggered up the thing completely, so I had to get a whole new one. So this guy, finally, this will fit about over here. And then I can put the covers back on, I can put the cam belt tensioners and all the rest of it back together, and we're actually good to go. I can put the engine covers on. Then I need to flip this guy. I've been saying this for ages, but then I need to flip this guy over and get the gearbox and stuff on. Now I haven't fitted these guys yet. We'll get there. And then while I was doing a test fit of that engine mount, just to make sure that the paint hasn't added too many layers, I realized I have no idea where these bolts go. So I'm just running an M10 through just to cut the paint out of the captive bolt here, and I'll do the same here. But I'm going to have to get new high tensile bolts. I'm going to have to look around for them. I've got some time, so there's no real rush. But I know I have the bolts, I just don't know where they are. It's so typical. I was saying to a mate the other day, this car literally is fighting me every single step of the way. I don't know why. Still very angry from neglect from previous owners, I guess. But yeah, oh yeah, so I was starting to put the other quarter window in. This is important thing that nobody tells you about is these things need to be lubricated before they'll fit in here. Otherwise, you know, this brand new rubber just bites onto the paint and it stops before it even moves. So you got to use some sunlight or some soapy water, or I use some Q20 just to create a bit of a rust seal there as well. But yeah, you've got to lubricate these rubbers before you put them in. This guy isn't in, it's just finger tight at the moment. I had to, somewhere in here is the OEM screw. So I have to find that. That came off the screwdriver while I was working on it. But what I did find on the driver's side is that the supplied ones make it very difficult. They're very short, so you've got to really like push hard, and it's hard to push and thread the screw in at the top. So I got a slightly longer one for the other side, which should make it a little bit easier. But once that side is done, the beauty with this passenger side door is that everything's there already. So I've got the window regulator in, I've got the winder, I've taken the glass out, it's there in the sink at the back there. I took it out to clean it because it was covered with paint and overspray. So this door, once I put the soundproofing into little bits I need to finish off, I can do the scrapers, do the window rubbers, and I can actually put the door card on it. I can kind of write that door off as being done. The driver's door, on the other hand, if you remember, we had an electric window in here. So I could put that one back and run just an electric on the driver's side, but I really want to avoid that kind of thing. I understand why they have a driver's side on that side, electric window on that side, because it makes sense. As you pull up to something, you just press a button, it comes down, ring an intercom or whatever the case is, press a button, it goes up, and you're good to go again. So that regulator's over there with the motor and everything. I believe it came from an E30 BMW. So that's there if I need it. I'm going to try and avoid using that unless I absolutely have to. There's a place that I'm going to use that's going to be able to supply me with the driver side regulator. You get two types. So obviously this one is the short one because we've got the quarter window here. The later cities had a full size window, and that cable's a little bit longer. I'm guessing just to have the leverage to push that much glass up. Now this window is slightly longer than your average City Golf. I think that would come about there, but it's still not a full size window. So I'm going to take my chances with the aftermarket one because it's pretty cheap. It's about $300. Slap that in. I'm going to try and go get that this weekend and get this door done, because my plan is if I can get these doors finished, that's one less thing to worry about. It's less stuff lying around. You know, the rubbers are finally in, the glass is in. It's not lying on the floor in a box somewhere that could fall over and break. So then these door cards go on, and this front section is basically done. Then what I want to do is I want to do the back window, and included in the back window on the wiring harness I've got connections for the pump, for the rear water bottle, and these are for the speaker that goes here on the parcel shelf. Somewhere here, I think it's these guys. These are speaker wires as well, but somewhere in the harness is the wiring that would come out the door for the rear demister. So I need to run that, then I can get that window into the car, and that's another thing. I'll put the new rubber on there, chuck the old one away, clean up the glass, put the rear window in, and then that's all done. I also need to run the piping for the nozzle here, and I need to find a replacement one of those. I'm hoping JCT can sort me out there. So we'll have a look and see what we can do there, because then you'll have you know, the one side will have the water coming through and the other side will have the electrics for the rear demister. The rubber does have, the OEM rubber does have a little indentation cut out of it for the wires to come through. So that should not really be a problem. The one issue I do have is that the rear parcel shelf has two rubber sort of cords, and those latch on to clips that sit about here. And that's that when you open the boot, the rear parcel shelf comes up as well. So for a while, mine's going to stay down. I cannot find those anywhere. I must maybe check with a mate at VW to see if I can get OEM parts, but they're very, you know, the parts have just run out basically. So yeah, so again, no progress with the brakes. I'm going to try a different tool. This is a mate's tool that he lent me, a flaring tool, because this one I bought just doesn't work. I cannot stand having to modify tools to do something they should do out the box. So I'm going to try this tool. This is tried and tested. We'll see if that one works. And then we can hopefully finish that. Ditto with the welding there. Then we have a working handbrake. We'll have brakes wired up. I have to clean those lines and everything. Hopefully once the brakes are done, we can get this thing in finally. Along with the gearbox, that's again less stuff on the floor, less stuff on the stand. Stand can then be packed away. The tricky thing there is going to be, I need to put the branch under the car, and we have two options here. Obviously I need to take the bonnet off, but we either drop the engine from the top down, so you sort of put it in at an angle, then sort of shoehorn it into place, and that obviously pops the front engine mounting in here. I've already mounted the rear one there. The gearbox one will come into place, and the driver's side one will slide into place, and you put the bolts in. So that would be coming from the top down, and then you've got to bring the exhaust manifold up and hook that on. The other option, again taking the bonnet off, is to latch the engine crane with a chain or tie downs or something around the valence, lift the car up, slide the engine down underneath, lower the car down, and then lift the engine up. So that might be easier because then I can get the exhaust manifold, or sorry, the whole branch onto the engine while it's under the car, and then just lift everything up into place. Before I even attempt any of that though, I need to turn this car around. So the brakes at some point are going to become a really sort of desperate thing to resolve. And then, you know, the handbrake and everything, because I need to get this car out onto the driveway, turn it around, and then get it back. Because everything I need is there. It's going to be easier to go from there into the car than to bring all of that stuff here to the front. It's much of a muchness really, but it just for you know, convenience sake, it's easier to have the engine bay on that side. So that's kind of where we heading on that direction. But yeah, I need to take some photographs. Someone's interested in that spare engine over there. I think I've kind of got the most use out of it. I was going to keep it as a spare for this car, but I think if this engine dies, it might be an excuse to go fuel injection. But anyway, he hasn't committed to taking that engine just yet, so who knows, it might be around a bit longer. But again, if that engine's in here, then that engine can go on the stand and I can put it aside, cover it up, and then when I'm ready to work on that, I'll start stripping that thing and you know, getting that sorted. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there, guys. I'm sorry it's not a very interesting video. I do need to, the one thing that I was trying to do this evening is I was going to put this poly insert into the engine mounting. I'll show you these two black lines I need to drill just to sort of extend this little slit, because this one doesn't have rubber guides, it's actually got a piece of steel in there. So I need to extend the groove that's already in the poly mount to accommodate that much steel. I don't really want to mess with this too much, but it's such a finicky space to try and drill out or shape that. So I'd rather then just modify this slightly so that this can go in. I need to take some meths or something and just clean off this label. And I can put all of this back together, and we're getting closer and closer, guys. So we are making slow progress, but we're making some progress. What I do need to do tomorrow is I need to go and get, I've got an M10 and an M12 cutting bit, but what I want to do, I was putting the inlet and exhaust manifold studs in, and I noticed there's a lot of gunk in this, and it's obviously from when we were cleaning up. It's got in there and it's really, really filthy. So let me just take this out and show you. So what I'm going to do is, instead of ruining the bolts and all the threads on these bolts, I'm going to run an M8 through here by hand. I'm just going to turn it by hand, not to cut new thread, but just to sort of shear off any grit and stuff that's in there. So I'm not cutting thread into the block, into the head. I'm really just running the bit through the existing thread that's in the head. And then what I can do is I'll put some meths in there. I use the compressor to blow it out, just to keep everything nice and clean. It should be nice shiny thread inside if it's nice and clean. Then I'll put some copper slip on these things and thread them all in properly. I'm going to lock them, so I'll use a double nut system on this thing, just to sort of, because these ones are for the exhaust, so these need to be really, really tight. You don't want these things to like sort of wiggle loose or shear off when you're driving, so these need to be really tight. I've got the gaskets and everything, so we'll get these guys sorted, we'll put the gaskets on. I do need to clean the branch a little bit on the surface that's going to mate with the engine. That's after I've done all of this. So once all this is nice and clean, I've sprayed it out, cleaned it with some thinners or some meths, blowed it out with the compressor. I'll put all of these things back properly, and then we again getting a step closer. Sure, lots of work to do. I'm going to try and start working a little bit every night, if not every night, then every second night, just to get a move on here. I want to really get to the point where the brakes are finished, the welding is done, the engine and gearbox and exhaust are in here, because then we can move on to the next step, which is hooking up the gear linkages to the gearbox, hooking up the wiring, so running the wiring through, putting that all in place. I want to get this car to start, so the wiring needs to go in. You know, I've got the TCI, I've got the coil, a whole bunch of stuff that still needs to go in here. Electrics for the headlights, all of that needs to go in, because we need to test and see what works and what doesn't work, obviously. So yeah, there's lots of stuff that needs to happen. I do have some people lined up to give me a hand there. So yeah, I'm hoping that should go pretty smoothly. Here I've got to hook up the drive shafts and the CV joints to the gearbox. There's a lot of stuff, you know, put the gearbox onto that lower engine mount. I hope that doesn't bite me when I come to fit the but you know what, that's easy. That's 2 bolts on the back of the mount. I can take that out, get the engine and gearbox in, and then raise that up and then bolt that on. So that's actually that's a non-issue there. But yeah, I do still need to finish. I was working in here, just trying to get these bolts in place to make sure that the brake levers and everything are correctly mounted. So yeah, sure. Every time we finish a big job, I get more and more sort of motivated to carry on. Oh, another thing, before I forget. So I ordered some packages from overseas, from the UK and the US. Look at that date. These were shipped in 2016. Got lost in the mail, forgot about them. I was actually going to reorder these bits. So these guys basically, and I'm sure I've mentioned them, I have the old ones over there somewhere, but I mentioned them before. All these things do is the bonnet rests on them nicely, and it stops it from moving while you're driving. There's another rubber piece, a foam rubber piece that goes on either side there, and that's just to sort of guide water into the rain tray and then out through the guide. So those, I initially thought I'd put those on backwards, but they seem to be the correct orientation. And yeah, if you've been following my Instagram, that's where you get a lot of the updates, because I do tinker all the time, and the updates are going on to Instagram. I don't really use my Twitter anymore. I'm actually going to close it down at some stage. But yeah, check out the Instagram. The link is in the description. You know, you'll probably see a little bit more progress. If you've been following the build on the videos, you see it sort of jumps. You go from like I've done nothing to boom, suddenly 6 things are finished. And it can be a bit jarring, but I really, my time to film, edit and upload has really gotten sort of very short. So I try to do these things all in one take. I try to cover everything I've done. Obviously these aren't scripted because I'm just trying to rush you through just to update. So sorry about that, guys. Hopefully I'll have some more time in the future as some of these bigger things are taken care of. But yeah, we are, like I say, once those wiper motors and things went in, I was very happy. And then, you know, tinkering a little bit with the brakes, that was done. I was really chuffed with this. This took a freaking long time. But once I put everything on and things were looking good again, once I'd figured out how to do this, I was really happy with the end result. And it looks like the very first thing I'm going to do with this car when it's finally mobile again is wash it. I left a window open over December, and obviously the wind has blown all sorts of dust and stuff from outside. We had quite a few big thunderstorms blowing a lot of dust. Probably still from when the place was built. But yeah, I'd love to wash this thing. But yeah, maybe when I have a working handbrake, I can take it out and just I'll have to use a sponge or something. Maybe not a best idea. I'll wait till the glass is in. I'll just live with the dust for now. The wheel arches. I want to put the wheel arches on just as a test fit. So that might be something for the weekend. And I have been toying with the idea of getting the Carmen Clipper kit for this vehicle. But for the look I'm going for right now, that would kind of, you know, would change the whole look and feel of this vehicle. So for now I'm going to stick with the steel bumpers and the kind of, you know, the flag mirrors and that sort of thing. But later, once I've found a complete kit with all the bolts and brackets and bits and pieces, then we can, and that'll probably need to have a slightly bigger motor of the 2-litre 16 valve variety. But there's the wheel arches there, a whole bunch of other bits and pieces. I should actually check that regulator. There's an old regulator I got from someone. I need to have a look at that one. Maybe I can use that, and I use the guide rail from that. Although that's all sort of one let's see what happens. The other one is so cheap it's worthwhile getting and just slapping it in. Alright, I'm going to leave it there, guys. I'm going to go ahead and upload, and we will catch you guys again probably on the weekend. Cheers for now. Hi guys, thanks so much for watching. If you want to see more and be kept up to date, please follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to my channel. With your help, we can get this project complete and move on to the next one. Bye for now.